The environment has to be
What we are saying is have a heart.
We've got to be able to regenerate our
There'll
economy.
be people who are kind, people who are cruel, but that's life. You can be passionate about pigeons. I'm fine with that.
What's wrong with Singaporeans?
Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Talkabout. Tonight we focus on people with special needs, a term which we will define later. Now in 2004, when Mr. Lee Hsien Loong became Prime Minister, he gave us an assurance that he wanted Singapore to be a society that cares for all its members. How a society treats the disabled, he said, takes care of them and helps them to integrate into the mainstream, reflects the kind of society it is. Since then, there have been some very important initiatives. One of them has been the $1 billion package to help the people with special needs, with disabled. And there have been other measures to discuss the issue of people with special needs, the problems that they face, and what future they have for them. I have a very distinguished panel with me. Can you please introduce yourself? Tell us more about yourself, starting with Seng Chun.
Okay, good evening. My name is Seng Chun. I'm from Dignity Kitchen. I run and manage a food court that train disabled and disadvantaged people to be hawkers. And what we do is get the disabled people to cook, and we get every day we bring elderly and needy people for lunch free of charge. We also started
Are you a charity organization
no, I'm
or
a
social enterprise?
Yeah, so we have
You're self-funding?
Yep, a lot of money. So
Okay.
basically, I also have a mama store which I train mothers to work with children selling second-hand books.
Oh, this is not a mama, Indian mama store?
No.
All right.
There's a respect for mother.
Okay.
I really admire mothers with challenged kids, so I decided to put them together and start a bookshop. There's one at Khoo Point, and the second one is coming up in December in NUH. So I got like 12 kids and mothers working together now. Who better to take care than the mother?
Okay.
That's what I do for a living.
And Denise?
I'm an MP in Mobbing Kallang GRC since 2006, but prior to that I was actually from corporate for many years, corporation like HP and Waslam and different companies.
You were actually a very high-powered executive.
No,
and you gave that all up. Why?
My son, I discovered many years ago, has special needs. He has autism, and because of my experience, I got to know many people many families and many children whom I feel are even worse off than my husband and I. And so we decided to do something about it instead of just grumbling and complaining. We decided to become active volunteers ourselves. And then when we put up some papers, and my volunteers and I put up some papers to the government to start schools and services. We co-founded, a few of us co-founded what is the first autism school in Singapore, and that's Pathlight School. And I run also other services.
How many
in the
students do you have
charity.
in Pathlight now?
Currently 800, more than 800.
Is that the largest school in Singapore?
Largest special school in Singapore.
We won't ask you how old you are.
I retired. No, I quit actually from corporate.
Okay.
And because the school was started and there were issues and challenges, and I thought I should just focus at least for 1 year to do full-time volunteering. And this is my 7th year now.
All right.
Actually, 9th year.
Okay.
And then I got on to help other charities. I like to. I work quite closely with the deaf, and I want to support the visually impaired as well. I also run another autism charity, and that has we created an entire brand of schools and services called Eden. So there's besides Pathlight, I also supervise Eden School that doesn't do mainstream academics so rigorously, and several early intervention centers and intervention centers and adult services
Okay.
as well. So a full.
And Bervin?
I'm a parent of a child with Down syndrome. Two actually. My daughter is the older, and she's JC this year. But Matthew is the 13-year-old Down syndrome boy.
You're a parent of 2 children,
Of
but
2
one
children.
of them has
That's
Down
right.
syndrome.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
All right.
I actually consider myself blessed for having the opportunity to have a Down syndrome child. Don't get me wrong, it hasn't always been easy. And for the most part, it's been
But
challenging.
has it brought you closer to your child?
It has. I think I'm a better person as well.
I'm Jonathan. Okay, I'm actually from the National Equestrian Centre. Over here.
National Equestrian Centre
Yes.
is a horse.
Yes, it's
A
for
horse
horses.
centre, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We jump the horses.
And what has it got to do with people with special needs?
Okay, basically right now we're actually employing and also training more intellectual disabilities, those individuals with more intellectual disabilities, and so we actually get them to, we actually cooperate with APSM.
Why would a equestrian organization want to help people with special needs?
In a way of giving back to society and also to help those who can't find, because I think one of the most important things to find for a person is a job, and we are trying to get some jobs for them.
Yeah, I'm June Webb, and I came out to Singapore 22 years ago.
What brought you out here?
My husband's job, he came out to work at Ngee Ann Polytechnic, and we brought with us 2 children. I was a newly qualified teacher, and struggling with the fact that my daughter was not achieving what she needed to achieve in school. We were very fortunate here to be able to put our children into the international system, where you have a fair bit of input into how things are handled for your child. And we were able to establish quite quickly that Susie has a learning disability, and that is involving language. The only thing that I could offer to her at that point in time was to go back to basics and work with phonics, which did absolutely nothing at all. And it took a number of years of investigating and doing workshops and attending talks and little trainings to find a set of activities or interventions that I could offer her that actually made a difference. She is dyslexic, although she doesn't technically qualify as dyslexic. You don't tick enough of the boxes for the diagnosis.
But she was the inspiration for what you are
She
today.
was the inspiration, and all of the things that I did with her that actually worked and helped, I now offer. I started a company here in order to offer that to the people of Singapore.
Okay.
And, you know, with some success, and hopefully some people have benefited from our experiences as a family.
And we have Lisa Barron, also who came to Singapore some years ago. Why did you come out here?
I came out here to work for an international school.
Okay, you're a teacher.
Yes,
All right.
special needs teacher. And when I recognized the hundreds of children who didn't have a school to go to, who did have some minor learning difficulties, I made Singapore my home so that I could work with this large group of children who didn't have they were on a waiting list for a special school, or they were struggling in a mainstream school. So they're the children that fall between the cracks. And the school that I run, called Genesis School, we are very unique in one way, that my goal is to try and get as many of my I call them my children, my students, back into mainstream functioning successfully. So we're actually able to get about 40% of our children back into a mainstream school functioning successfully.
Mainstream school, not workplace. Okay. And how about you, Ian?
Hi, my name is Ian, and I'm a person with disability. I have cerebral palsy. It's not very obvious when I'm sitting down. There's a condition that affects the brain because there was trauma during birth, and it came out looking like a Smurf, blue baby, lack of oxygen.
Oh, okay.
So that affect part of my mobility. Yeah, I volunteer with a very interesting group called the Disabled People Association. It's
a volunteer job. It's not a paying job.
No, so I don't get a single cent on record from the organization. It's a purely volunteer group. I've been volunteering down for 10 years plus. So I was the last president of the organization. I'm now sitting on the board itself as one of the board of trustees. So it's an interesting organization because I think it's the only organization that's cross-disability that advocates the rights of the people with disability. We don't do direct services because we feel that, we personally feel that there's way too many organizations doing the same thing. But what was lacking was the very basic rights. The voice, a voice of a child with a disability, the voice of a teenager, a young person who's trying to get a job. So DPA is part of an international group known as the Disabled People International that actually has a representative seat in the United Nations. So, and that's basically seat the recently rectified United Nations for the rights of the disabled person, which we have been championing for the past few years, and recently got rectified here in Singapore. And so we are very pleased that it's a progress in terms of recognizing that very basic right.
Okay, Ian, I think it's a good point to start, because now you're talking about social activism for the rights of the disabled people. I think in the past a lot of it has been passive, and they have had no voice. So you're saying now you're giving them a voice and asserting their right to be part of society.